and this is Tatran.
Bravo! Bravo! And thank you for excellent performance.
Amazing. So this next piece, moving right along, is from a San Francisco-based performer, another person who we are very happy to have in the room today and also during all of our rehearsals. Charlton wrote us a piece, and this was something that the two of us are the two members of Del Sol who, to this point, have written a piece for the Joy Project, and that's something that we've said we are all four of us are going to do. Uh, and yeah, we got this piece. Charlton's been thinking about it, I think, for a long time. But yeah, tell us about it.
Well, it was obviously very intimidating. I hadn't written anything since I was in college, and just those of you who know me, I know I have a background in mathematics, and so this the piece 5 by 4 is kind of a play on numbers. I was trying to see if we could groove in 5 and 4 at the same time. Um, and so there are like 20 16th notes in each measure. You'll have to tell me if that works or not. And it turned out that a lot of times when we get pieces from composers, we complain. It's like, what were these people thinking? It's like, it's like, this is so hard, or this is so awkward. And I got my own part and realized that I had written something incredibly awkward and difficult. Anyway, we'll. I don't. I'm not gonna. I realized also that we always encourage composers to talk about their pieces, and some of them are not terribly happy to do that, or some of them are really good at it. But now I see why it's awkward.
That's the spirit.
Yep. I'll let the
Yep.
composer.
I
I'll
like
let
it.
the, I'll let the music speak for itself.
Music speak for itself.
Oh, thanks everybody. That's that's really sweet. Uh, yeah, it's really fun, and we had to work on that. This tricky little thing. I'm really tickled to introduce our next composer. And this is actually a very hidden little secret about Del Sol, which is that Carla Kirsted was actually played with us for a period of time when she lived here in the Bay Area. So she's technically, I don't know if I can say this, is technically a former member of Del Sol. And I'm really honored to have her aboard. And in fact, Carla was one of the very first people I met when I came to San Francisco. When I came out for my audition here for the conservatory. She, her vote of confidence, it really encouraged me to come here, and I've been here ever since. So I will big, a big gratitude for that. So Carla, I know you have also have, according to Sam, you have other plans to expand this piece.
I'm afraid what you guys will hear tonight is maybe a minute, might be less than a minute at this point. So it's very much a work in progress. Charlton, I can't even tell you, I wish I could give you a giant hug right now. It feels so, even in the flatlands, I can feel it. Yeah, we'll catch up later for real. But this was such a beautiful invitation. It's so easy to focus on all the dark, brutal, chaotic stuff that's going on. So just the invitation alone, I was really moved by. Like, right as a tiny thing focusing on joy. Like, I nearly cried just at that. So I've always been a real fan of miniatures. And this miniature form, some of my favorite miniatures are the Stravinsky 3 Pieces for String Quartet. I just think there's some of the greatest little terse, beautiful, evocative pieces around.
Which you played with us.
It's true. I think that's how I know them.
Yeah,
I think that's how I know them.
I still have the image of you playing I think we were playing first on that, the first violin part, using the entire bow. Right.
Yeah, still in there. So this is what you're going to hear now is like a draft of a first movement that I'm planning on writing. I might have to stick it to keep it at 3 just for the reference. So of course the most obvious thing that my mind went to when the invitation of miniatures and joy came up was laughter, because I've been sent so many like little video memes of various things, and just that same week I'd gotten a text message from a friend of mine who had recently had a baby, and her mother, so 3 generations of her family were at the little scene, and we're all kind of engaging in each other's lives in miniature form anyway, with these little things we send back and forth of evidence of life. And so it was a video of the mom feeding the baby her first, like, I don't know what it was, some kind of cream caramel delicious pastry, something or other, messy as all get out, and all 3 of them were laughing hysterically, the baby and the mom and the grandma, just all laughing in their different ways. And I tell you, I listened to that thing, and I started actually by transcribing their laughter, decided not to go with that for the moment, but just that like cacophony of laughter that all fit together so beautifully. That's kind of what I'm going for in this. And then and since doing this, it's just cued me into listening to the way people laugh, which has been a lovely way to spend my time in this strange moment. So it's totally not finished. I appreciate you guys even doing like the very work in progress, tiny clip of it. But here's the first draft movement of my pieces about laughter.
We definitely had a lot of laughing. Woo. I'm gonna let our violinist Ben introduce our next composer.
Hi, is Frank there?
I am here. I'm
All
here.
right. So,
There we go.
yeah. So Frank's piece, Exit Strategies, for, I don't know, it's 3 or 4 minutes of music, but the layers of meaning, the layers, perhaps historical, political, personal, numerological, harmonic. It is indeed a very rich 3 minutes. And Carla made reference to the unpleasant and the terrifying. And just to get the discussion started, Frank, by the way, has the most fascinating program note, which I've been wanting to read before we perform it, on the street corner, sort of like a evangelist or something. But perhaps a way to sort of provoke Frank into talking about the layers of his piece is to show people the font of the title page and see what it brings back to you. Anyone get the shivers? Okay. So, talk about what exit strategies means to you, Frank.
Okay. I really took this whole joy project idea to heart, and Schadenfreude is a kind of joy. And all I have to say is that January 20th, 2021 was a great relief after the presidential election, and an election cycle that seemed like it wouldn't end. But it kept ending, and it kept ending around the number 232.
Which everyone noticed. So this relates to a Mozart quintet as well, right?
Mozart Quartet K575, which was composed 232 years before 2021. It's now a year. This is like a year into the future now, right? But just to kind of fill people in, the whole idea is that the loser of the 2020 US presidential election lost because he got only 232 electoral votes. But he still thought he won, so he led an insurrection which led him to be impeached by 232 votes. But even still, on Inauguration Day, a new president was inaugurated 232 years after the first presidential inauguration. So the idea of the piece is to kind of hammer into your head 2, 3, 2. And over and over again, just like the loser who refused to lose. So it's the exit strategy, that it's the cadence that never ends.
For us as performers, we always find the challenge, or our goal when we perform it outside is to have the listeners always think that it's about to be over. And then it happens again, but something's different. And then it happens again. And it's another ending. And so that feeling of constant ending is something very special. We've never had a chance to do that before.
Yeah, well, what I will say is it never ends. It seems like it's the same thing over and over again, but as you all well know, and the audience hopefully will hear, each measure is actually different. No two measures are the same.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, let's hear it.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
So the next piece that we're gonna play for you all, what I would imagine most people are doing right now is hanging out in their living room, hanging out in their kitchen, hanging out, hiding from everyone in your basement. Where I imagine most people are not right now is in between sets at the iconic Village Vanguard in New York. But that's where Vijayara is coming from, presumably like it looks like an empty stairwell.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly right. I'm on the back stairs, which no one's supposed to know about. But, it's the only place
Right,
I can get some
secret is
peace
safe
and
with
quiet
us.
around me. Thank you for accommodating me, and thank you for playing all these great pieces. And
Yeah.
yeah, Frank, you're out of
very
your
fun.
mind. I
Thank you
love
for
it.
making So your piece Spasm is what we're going to play next. One thing that we've talked about a lot in variously anatomically incorrect ways is that the piece sort of feels like a centipede that's moving one leg at a time. The way that we try to have this really cohesive unit of harmony that moves through the piece, but it never, it's never quite the same every two times.
Oh, that's good. To answer the question, I'm the one playing in the Vanguard. It's me. I wish I were just sitting in the audience, but no, I'm actually working today. Having a good time here with Taishan Sori and Linda Mahon O, playing some trio, a week with the trio. Yes, thank you for putting it that way. That's an interesting image. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's great. Because actually what I've been investigating in my journey as a capital C composer is incorporating at least some of the sensibility that I experienced playing live and playing with musicians and playing as a musician and making choices every step of the way. Every sound I make is a choice, and it's always a very relational, very collaborative process. I have to be mindful not to talk longer than the piece. So what I guess I just want to say is that I wanted to put that flow into your hands, that sense of like, rather than just merely following my instructions, I wanted to give you guys a chance to really like be in the moment of relating and actually not being sure what's going to happen next or when it's going to happen. And then like dealing with all of that in real time and the thrill that to me is joyful, that I hope it gives you as well. And I hope it communicates also to your listeners. How's that? How did I do? Is that shorter than the piece?
That was perfect. I mean, it makes us laugh all the time when we're playing it. We play these little micro games of chicken with each other to change notes.
That's great.
It's perfect.
Yeah, basically the whole piece it's kind of just written as a chorale, but every bar is an open repeat, which means you have to decide when to go on and who's going to decide and how do you decide. All that is in the moment. So I'll leave it to you to uncork it.
And let it be uncorked. This is Vijayara's Spasm.
Thank you. Bravo, y'all. Yes, yes.
Oh, oh, Vijay, thank you so much. As Sam said, it brings a smile to us every single time we play it. I love the cat and mouse sort of playfulness that it brings to our interaction, and just the life that I think that translates to us and then out to the audience. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us from on your brief break. It really means a lot to us to have you here. So
My
thank
pleasure. I do have to go, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna check the recording later. Thank you all
Have
very much.
fun.
And yeah, I think people asked. The score is super easy. It's like the simplest thing imaginable. I'll show it to you if you want. Just email me. Okay. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
great
night.
night.
What we love about the Joy Project is just the amazing composers that we've worked with and are working with. I think there are 21 pieces so far. We had 11 in our first Joy Project online concert and 10 now. We are hopefully expecting a few more pieces, and it just is continuing to be an ongoing community of composers. And many of the composers from the first set of pieces that we played last year are here tonight. I know I saw Erika Oba and Takuma Ito and Mark Orton. And I hope I didn't miss anyone else, but pipe in if I did. And what we've tried to do is we really thought locally, hyper locally, who are our composers in the Bay Area, and we really wanted to make sure that in the pandemic when we couldn't travel, that composers were still being able to hear their music, even if it was outdoors. And so we asked many, many Bay Area composers, and we also thought about the relationships that we've had with other composers, many of them who have ties and roots to the Bay Area, but also composers that we wanted to work with for the first time. We've always wanted to work with Chenyi, and this is the perfect opportunity to say, hey, can you write us something? We thought a lot about different kinds of music. I think you can hear tonight that there's so many different styles of music, and also composers that we felt really personally connected to, either them in relationships or in music. For me, we were regrouping about who to ask next, and I said, hey guys, one of my most favorite pieces I've played in Del Sol is Fast Blue Village by Elena Kast-Chernin. And I said, I think Elena would write us a great Joy Project piece. And she did. Unfortunately, Elena can't be here with us tonight, but you're going to hear this really fantastic tango that she wrote for us for this project. The tango did not have a title for many, many, many months. And every time we went out, we were asking the audience what they thought the title should be. And there were a lot of great suggestions. And I know that, I remember we came up with one title that was The Lost Sock. But I think Elena and the quartet finally settled on the title, The Same River Twice. And the story with that is that this piece was performed on the same river twice at different spots along the way this summer. So it was performed in the Yampa and also, as it turns, into the Colorado River. And I think what was special about that is the irony of the same river is is it ever the same river because the water rushes by, but this idea that in one spot and in another spot it could have potentially been the exact same water that was being hearing Elena's beautiful and fun tango. So without further ado, here is Elena's The Same River Twice. Or I'll keep talking because Charlton got distracted by what I was saying and forgot to pull up the video. But if you are interested in her other music, check out our Zia album, which has the incredible piece, The Fast Blue Village.
Hey, hi, Pamela.
Oh, hello.
I was just reading your something that you wrote in the comments, which is the word delicious, which I think is very true. And I was thinking how something when I think about your music, sort of tastiness and pleasure in listening and performing does that seem like something that is a motivator in your music?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you asked for something about joy, um, I I thought, well, okay, so I need to think about what brings me joy. So so I made a little piece. It's just a couple minutes long, um, and I included it's kind of a handful of things that give me joy in making music. So for one thing, I called the piece, I included Italian language. So because I've been spending some time in Italy recently. So Gioia, the title is joy in Italian. Also I have a love of language, so I thought I had to make sure that somewhere in this, and I also get a lot of joy from making Del Sol verbalize. So I made sure to include some speech sounds for you guys in the performance of it. And then I also used something that I'm quite fond of in my work, which is kind of out of phase loops. So giving you all something at slightly at different tempi, so that you had this kind of like gradually shifting, rhythmically shifting thing going on, but in a very minimal and clean way, so that it's very simple. So, but that's sort of, those are the things I was thinking of. And then I was delighted because I think Charlton came across some graffiti that said Gioia and sent me that on a text message. I wish I had it handy. I'd stick it into the chat. But anyway, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Actually, I have a question. I was wondering, do you have a suggestion for a location that we might not have thought of yet that you think would particularly welcome this piece?
Oh gosh.
We could ask you afterwards if you want.
I
If you want a moment,
I needed some preparation for that question, because I'll have to think on that one.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, let's listen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Pamela wrote us an incredible piece called Attention in 2017, and so it's a joy to get to work with her again. And this piece is just a delight. It makes us smile every time. So,
Well, it made me smile so hard at my face to hear you play it and to perform it.
I was thinking that people love it when we're outside. There have been maybe one or two occasions where not that many people are listening, and then it's a little awkward, which is like actually even funnier. It's like even more of this sort of performance piece when you're literally in a street corner and no one's paying attention to you, and then you start staring at people and saying, I think I love how the outdoor context of playing all these pieces gives each piece such a different relationship. When we come indoors, it's like this whole other way that we interact with the piece. So it's just so incredible. So thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
Yeah. Our next piece up is Vallejo by Andy Akiho. And again, I love just the relationships that we have in the Joy Project, and I call this like a family party tonight, as we just get to share music and laugh and have a good time. And we got to know Andy at a residency in New Hampshire called Avaloq Farm, and he would often come by where we were meeting, where we were living and like hanging out. He'd be going through to where he was staying, and we would just get on, some really fun conversations about various things, coffee and sushi knives and composition. And he was writing a piece for Sandbox Percussion, which actually just got nominated for a Grammy, and it was supposed to be the Grammys tonight, which got postponed. So we are waiting for a couple more weeks to find out if that piece and that recording wins a Grammy or not. But it was an incredible piece that he wrote called Seven Pillars. So you should check it out totally. And he just graciously agreed to write us this piece. It's called Vallejo. And when we asked him about it, like, hey, did you, what's your relationship with Vallejo? He was actually in San Francisco when he wrote the piece and was running every day up the Vallejo steps. And so you get the sense of a lot of that sense of travel. It's a really interesting composition in that there's a 23-note cycle that gets layered in and on top of each other. But it really harks into the world of, I think, percussion, and Andy himself is a steel drum player and other percussionists, and it's just like an incredibly fun and uplifting piece. So without further ado, Andy Akiho Vallejo.
Yeah, that one's really a piece that gets the blood pumping, right? We like, oh my God. And the end is filled with all of these like very quickly changing meters. And so it feels as much like we are just like juking our way in and out of the piece. It's such a fun way to end. And sort of highlights what I was hoping to talk about with this next piece. We have two pieces left for you tonight. And this next one is by a composer uh, in Illinois, Andrew Rodriguez. It's called Sometimes Bursting. And it really, I think, highlights the way that the Joy Project has meant something so different for everyone. And in this really beautiful way where the pieces that we've gotten and what I think we've heard tonight, and also with the 11 pieces that came last year in 2020, which is not last year anymore. Oh boy. They're so different. There's so many interpretations of what joy meant for everyone. And, you know, for all of the like percussive, groovy brilliance that Andy brought to the piece, Andrew's piece really brings this thoughtful and introspective and understated view of joy. I think something that we've talked about a lot about Sometimes Bursting is this idea of a picture coming into view, the way that we see something beautiful, but it's sort of, you know, hitting us with that lens flare. The picture is all fuzzy and we see these golden lights that shine through, but we don't see anything quite defined yet. And as the piece goes on, we feel more and more grounded in what we're experiencing. And that feeling of that subtle little light growing inside of us is, I think, something that Andrew captures so beautifully in the piece. This is Sometimes Bursting.
Okay. Now we're gonna invite Lisa Metzacapa to come bring us home with her piece Begin Soleil. We had a blast working with Lisa, who is another Bay Area composer and bassist and wonderful band leader. And we learned actually a bit about the Begin, and I'll let Lisa tell you more about her piece. Hey, Lisa.
Sure. Well, thanks. I guess with the Joy assignment, my ears immediately traveled to the Caribbean. A lot of kinds of Caribbean music have been a solace for me over many years of kind of being a student of that music. And in particular, I was thinking about this kind of music called Begin that was really popular in the 30s in the French West Indies in particular, in Martinique and Guadeloupe, and also in Paris. And it's this very clarinet-driven, trilly, bendy, bouncy, light dance music. That I've kind of just been transcribing over the years and just enjoying. And I thought maybe I should try to figure out how to write a Begin for a string quartet. And so I guess what I was trying to get at a little bit with this is I think the sense of joy that I get out of music of the Caribbean has a lot to do with this balance between this kind of freewheeling looseness, but at the same time there's also this kind of rhythmic tightness that moves the music forward. So that was my attempt, at least, to convey some of that, and that's the joy I feel, I guess, when I listen to this music. So thank you so much, guys, for all of this. I'm just so touched by all the love you're bringing to all these pieces. It's really, thank you.
Thank you. No, yeah, I won't say anymore. Listen, this is awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. It means a tremendous deal to us that we can share this also with all of you who are not local, that we don't see in person, at least, or may not have seen in quite a while. So we want to thank you, all of us, to have you here with us, and for
just
coming out.
yeah.
And thank you to all the composers for their amazing pieces. Obviously we couldn't do it without them. I wrote one piece, and Sam wrote one piece. We're still waiting for pieces from Ben and Catherine, so I want everybody to encourage them to put on their composer hats and give us something.
But yeah, no, just a huge round of applause to all these incredible composers. Check out their work, their other work. Everyone has been so prolific and doing just incredible projects in these times. Yeah, and just thanks for coming out, and feel free to stick around for a few minutes if you want, and maybe, if you have any questions in the chat, we're happy to answer them for a few minutes, or you just want to say hi, but otherwise, thank you for sharing this 75 minutes with us, and I hope this brought a little spark to your life in January, and let us hope that continues. We'll be out in the Bay Area doing some more Joy projects. So definitely, if you're in the area, just let us know, or get on the list to know when we're popping up. So yeah.
Yeah, and happy Chinese New Year to everybody.
Yeah, it's a fresh start. So
Year of the Tiger coming up.
Awesome. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.